Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is about that time. Keep your hands up and keep your head on a swivel. The Haymakers and Submissions podcast is here. We woke up and chose violence today. Stick and stay for combat sports talk at its finest, coming your way now. Welcome, everybody, to the Haymakers and Submissions podcast. My name is Drew. My partner's name is Chops. We're talking combat sports again this week. First, Chops, how you doing?
Man, you know me, man. Another day above ground is always a good day. So I'm here. You know, weather down here in Georgia was pretty good this week, or at least today. It's supposed to be nice again. It was good yesterday, and today was nice. Tomorrow's supposed to be decent as well. We got some rain coming in this weekend, but again, man, it was a good day last week for combat sports. We got some more coming up, so I'm excited about what we got going on tonight, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that Thurman fight here that happened early this morning, and we're recording at 12. It happened early this morning in Australia, so we'll be touching on that shortly. But we're also going to talk about some MMA action as well. So let's get to it, my friend. Let's start with a little recap of that UFC 313. Some little minor upset here.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Yes and no. Yes, because Pereira was a dominant champ for as long as he's been champ, right? And in such a short amount of time. But no, because Ankalaev was only a plus 105. 115 is even money. So basically, it's about a pick 'em. You know what I mean? And because Ankalaev had the wrestling that we thought he could go to in his back pocket, that, you know, would keep it closer than people thought. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a word I'm going to use for both fights, right? And it's not in the traditional way you think, right? But just let me cook. Just ride with me for a minute. Okay. The word is masterful. Masterful. And I say that with Ankalaev, because at any point you have to respect the striking of Pereira. You have to. There's no way about it. You have to respect what he can do. And from the opening bell to the final bell, you're like, whoa, is he going to unleash this? Is he going to unleash this? Will Ankalaev get caught? And Ankalaev had a great plan because he never really let Pereira get set, and he never really let him push the issue, never let him really come forward too much, where he always had Pereira stepping back. He didn't follow him too hard. He didn't get too close. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because you got to watch. If you're closing distance but don't do it properly, you know you can always get hit with something.
Oh, yeah.
And Pereira's he's the boogeyman. He's a bad dude. You know what I mean? How he gets that to 205, nobody knows. Nobody knows. It's almost like there was a guy years ago, they called him the ground and pound, king of ground and pound, and one of the guys was Tito Ortiz.
Yeah.
And Tito used to say he had a big upper body and small legs. And he used to say because of his legs how small they were, that's why he was able to make 205, just as a joke. But Pereira is a big man. He really, you know what I'm saying? So, and him making 205, and then by the time he rehydrates, he's well into, if you told me literally 215, 220 by fight time, I believe it, even though he's weighing in at 205. Now, you know what I mean? I'd still believe it that he indeed is 225, if not really, honestly. So, because you figure a lot of times, even with hydration clauses, they'll put no more than 8 to 10 pounds. So if you realize a guy has to still watch his intake so he doesn't put on more than 10 pounds in some of these hydration clause matches, you figure it ain't nothing for a guy maybe to go 15 to 20, 25 pounds once he rehydrates. You know what I mean? So he's a big dude. Now, Ankalaev, here's where, and I don't want to take anything away from Magomed. I don't want to take anything away from him, because he did what he was supposed to do, right? He got the win. It was a boring fight. If they would have, he won unanimous decision, right?
Yep.
And if it's two cats fighting, yeah, he did. He outpointed him. Rather, never really hurt him. Never. He stumbled him once, but never whatever. Didn't have one takedown. He could not take Pereira down, which was impressive that Pereira fought off his shots. I don't know if Pereira, defending your title 4 times as a calendar year is a lot, because that's 4 times
every 3 months.
Yes, and you're getting the top guy's best. You're getting his best. When you defend your title, you can't have an off night. You can't have a lackadaisical moment, right? Mm-hmm. And again, I don't want to take anything away from Ankalaev. I don't want to, right? But Pereira just never looked himself. He didn't look vicious. He was stalking. Even when they did the stare down, he has a stare down where he almost has eyes like a shark, like a baby doll, like just dead eyes.
Yeah.
I didn't really see that this time. You know what I mean? I didn't see that this time. And I don't know what it was, but and it wasn't like Ankalaev just bent Pereira's will. It was, you know what I mean? He was doing enough to outpoint him. No blood. Nobody was really bruised and battered. And then, honestly, man, for 2 big guys, it was a lackadaisical fight to me. It was very lackluster. But Pereira, he just wasn't himself, right? But again, back to Ankalaev, masterful, because he pushed the pace. He came forward, not too much, right? He kept throwing a looping overhand left that caught Pereira nice a couple times. You would have never landed that on a true boxer, but in MMA, you land it, right? So he threw a looping left hand a couple times that caught Pereira. Okay. He shot a couple times, and a couple times it looked like he was in deep and even got Pereira off his feet or his balance topsy-turvy, but not enough to get him down, right? So he fought his fight. He kept Pereira guessing. He managed real estate. And he was never truly, to be honest with you, never really in danger. He even slipped a couple shots, to whatever have you, but he was never really in danger. And that's why I'm saying masterful, because he never got too anxious. He never tried to close the distance too soon. He made Pereira work, as in fighting off the shot, but he never stayed there really longer than he should have. He didn't take unnecessary blows. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And even though, for lack of a better term, he was clearly winning the fight, and I say that because he was just outpointing him here, outpointing him there. If you'd have told me that was a sparring session, I get it, right? So it wasn't. So having said that, when you see unanimous decision, did he beat him up? No, he beat him. He didn't beat him up. Unanimous decision, but he didn't dominate him. You know what I mean? So having said that, I still have to give Ankalaev the moniker and the title masterful, because he did everything that he was supposed to, because nobody is really going 5 rounds with Pereira and not feeling it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Whether it's those leg kicks breaking you down to where he can land that left or he can land that right, that sharpshooter, boom. And Ankalaev was masterful in that he never got outside of the game plan. You know what I mean? He never forced anything. He never chased Pereira. I've seen guys in MMA, you think a guy's hurt, you run after him, and he's not playing possum, but he threw something, you ran right into it. You know what I mean? And guys have ran into it and gotten caught. So on that aspect, they're going to run it back soon. Now, again, I'm trying to get over, to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. Yeah. But this is a fight to where, yes, you outpointed him, but damn it, I know this sounds ignorant and it's asinine, but I don't think a champ should lose the belt that way. If you lose the belt by you got beat, it's clear to everyone. You got beat, you got punished. Might have not got knocked out, but you got punished. Ankalaev was winning the rounds, but there was still always that moment where you thought Pereira was going to unleash that overhand power, right? If you're beating him, you're not really worried about that. You know what I mean? You're not really worried about that. Like last week, to me, I wasn't worried about that with Tank in the later rounds. Him catch it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Of course, it's a possibility, and you say there's always a possibility.
Sure.
But 6, 7, and 8, you thought Tank was going to unleash that hell worse than you did at 9, 10, and 11. You know what I'm saying? Or 12.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what was there on that aspect. So I give Ankalaev masterful. You did what you had to do. You won the belt. Rejoice. Accept it. I'm interested to see this rematch because will Ankalaev try wrestling more and taking down Pereira, or will Pereira feel pretty good about himself because I fought off his shots and he never once took me down? So does he feel more in that he'll let his hands go a little more, might let some head kicks go a little more? That'll be interesting to see, on that one. So that's what I say about that one, man. On Ankalaev winning, props to him. I just think four times defending that title in a year was a bit much.
You figure that's you fight, you take 2 weeks off, and then you train hard for 10 weeks. Then you fight again, maybe take 2 weeks off, and then back at it again for 10 weeks.
And if you figure, man, he doesn't even really have a chance to get out of shape because he's always trying to stay around that 205. But that makes you think, did you overtrain? And I only say that because it wasn't like Ankalaev just ran buckshot on him. But he isn't, Pereira, to me, just didn't look the same. But again, Pereira did what he was supposed to do. He had his opportunity. Hey, like Wade Mile from Detroit, if you had your one opportunity, would you capture it? You know what I mean? And he did what he needed to do. I got to give my man props. He did what he needed to do. All he can worry about, him and his performance, and he did that.
That's fantastic. And great M&M reference, too. We appreciate that here in Detroit. Thank you. Let's talk about that Gaethje fight.
Okay. This one, and I didn't want to mention it because I didn't want it to play into when we spoke about it last week when we previewed it. Rafael Fiziev took that fight on 12, not even 2 full weeks, 12 days notice. I didn't want to even put that out there. Don't want to put that mojo out there. Don't want to coming off a major knee injury. He hadn't fought in 2 years, right? Major knee injury, coming back, not saying you're highly ranked, that you deserve a tune-up, but damn, if that isn't getting re-entered baptism by fire, I don't know what is. You know what I mean? I don't know what is. So he, as in Fiziev, fills in for Dan Hooker. 12 days notice. 12 days notice, which tells me, I don't know how much he had to cut, but there was no talks if he had a hard weight cut or he would, so they didn't talk about that. So he was going hard in the paint, trying to stay around his 155. And if you look at Fiziev, he is a big 155. He's rock solid. Look, he's a big 155. You know what I mean? Cut, chiseled. Now, this again, term I use, masterful. And I say that was masterful because coming out, a fighter knows his body, a camp and a corner knows their fighter. I don't know if they said, let's go out and try to get Gaethje out early, get him out early because we don't have the tank. I don't know. Regardless of what the weight is, those muscles need oxygen. When you see any of those, you don't even see a whole lot of great chiseled boxers. You see a lot of lean boxers, but you don't see a whole lot of yoked, diesel boxers because those muscles need oxygen. That's not the real typical body for a boxer to be successful. Okay. But Fiziev came out smoking. I mean, he came out hot. I mean, hot as a pistol that first round. And even in his, how do I say this? In his interview, should I say in his post-fight interview, Gaethje admitted, I was fine with the punches, but he hit me with some body kicks that hurt. And you could tell they hurt. Gaethje didn't like him. Gaethje didn't like him at all. So he, again, was masterful. Okay, now you know how I love the movies. I got a cousin who you met, Mike Doc, talk to. And I got another partner. We will send each other out. I will not call, but I'll send a voice text. They'll send a voice text to me, and we'll quote a movie, one line. What's the movie that you got? Whatever. Okay. And then so we do it all the time. We love movies. So I'm a movie guy.
Yeah.
This to me was like, remember the movie with Denzel where he did The Equalizer, and he would put his watch And then he's looking at guys and he's looking at something, or like RoboCop, they're eyeing you up. What can they do? This, that, and the third. And we hear like Tank. They said Tank starts slow, so he takes all that information and he downloads it and he gets you 6, 7. I don't know if that's it. I think Tank is a slow guy. Not the guys are wearing themselves out, but they realize by 6, 7, this isn't hurting, so that whatever, and he ends up he gets you in because he turns up the heat and catches you. Absolutely. But Fiziev won the first round, clearing away. And Gaethje's corner, props to Trevor Whitman, towards the end of the first round, he hit him with a hook and an uppercut. Didn't hurt him, shook Fiziev. Didn't hurt him, didn't knock him down. But Fiziev won that first round. It ended with Gaethje coming on a little bit, but Fiziev won the first round. So this is where I'm going Terminator, or not Terminator. This is where I'm going back to
Equalizer.
Like Equalizer, or the one of those. So because he, as in Gaethje, downloaded all that information that quick, and he comes out in the second round, gangbusters. If it had been boxing, it'd have been a 10-8 round because he knocked him down with that same uppercut, right? With that same uppercut. So again, he took that information and processed it like RoboCop, like Equalizer. What do I got to do? And that quick, you get a minute. You get what it is. You get a minute between rounds for your corner to tell you what you got to do, this, that, and the third. They process the information. Boom, boom, boom. This is what you do. And he went out and did it and delivered it. And that uppercut was nasty. That uppercut was nasty, and it was on point, right? And he holds the head a little bit, which you could do in MMA. Can't do it in boxing, but you can do it in MMA. So he did that, and he clearly wins the second round. So now going to the third round, get your popcorn ready. You're who's because it was. I like both fighters, but I wanted Gaethje to win. I believe I'd pick Gaethje, right? I missed the Pereira, but I'd pick Gaethje. So going into the third round, it's like, whoa, Fiziev is still strong, but you see his gas tank is starting to go a little bit. Don't know if that's because his muscles, 2-year layoff, Gaethje, who you're pushing. Now, again, Gaethje's corner, bless Trevor Whitman and his corner, they could tell him, turn it up. They saw it, turn it up. And that's where you have to trust your corner. Yeah. They see things you don't do. Gaethje turns it up. Don't know if it's a 2-year layoff. Don't know if it's the 12-day short notice because Hooker pulled out, which also would have been a great fight, Hooker and Gaethje. Or if it is my muscles haven't been octagon ready. When I say getting my tank up there, you know what I mean? So having said that, Gaethje comes out and pushes the third round. And it was a hell of a fight, and it started strong and fast, and it ended strong and fast. And this fight was what we expected it to be. Okay, you see a lot of trilogies, and they're for belts, or one wins another.
Yep.
It's 2-0, both for Gaethje. This is a trilogy, a quad, a cinco ace, whatever you want to call it. I don't care if these guys want to run it back once a year for the next 3-4 years, everybody tune in to watch it. Everybody would tune in to watch it.
They said to each other in the ring afterwards. Gaethje told them, he goes, I'm going to train with you.
Yes.
And we'll fight. We will fight again if it's for a belt. We'll fight again.
Yeah, because honestly, if those guys had another camp, a long camp, like say you signed, hypothetically it wouldn't, but say you signed today for them to fight again in, what are we, March? Say you're going to fight again in July or in November, like months and months, whatever it may be. Let their bodies heal, give them a good month and a half or 2 months to take off. Then they get back in training, right? So let's say 5-7 months out. The toll that those guys would take on each other's body, the toll that would do to their career long-term, because Gaethje's getting up there for, you know what I mean? So having said that, I don't think they should fight each other again, except for belt. I'd love to watch it. I'd love to go watch them train together. Yeah. But I think it would do the sport an injustice to have them fight again if it's not for the belt. Because yes, leather will fly, blood's going to fly. There will be blood, but them for belt. That's what you want to see it all out there. You want to see everything in the octagon. And if you do that and it's not for a belt, it's not going to cheapen the fight because but this should have been a 5-rounder. This should have been you're going out on your shield. You know what I mean? So again, it was a great fight. Gaethje wins the 3rd round, and that's where I had it, 29-28. But that, to me, because Pereira had the belt, that to me was a better fight. And I figured it'd be a better fight because of who they were and the combatants knew each other than the main event. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know the main event was going to be as lackluster as it was. Oh, damn near boring. I hate to say that. But Fiziev and Gaethje, as much as you might have been disappointed in the main event, co-main event made it up for it. Because and it was only 3 rounds. If it had been 5, it'd have been lovely. It'd have been lovely. But and honestly, I don't even think Fiziev's tank. He's a warrior, so he might have went to his heart explode. But it was his gas tank at the end. Gaethje just turned it up like a conditioned fighter, a seasoned vet turned up the heat in the kitchen. You know what I mean? So, and that's what I had, man. But it was definitely a good night. It was a good night for fights.
No, that's really cool. Yeah, I was all the judges had it 29-28 as well.
Yeah.
Exactly the way you had it. So it makes sense.
Yeah. Green got knocked out. There was a spinning wheel kick reverse. Oh, it was nasty.
Oh, yeah.
It was textbook. Edwin, when you get a chance, or while we're doing now, while I'm talking, if you got your phone, Edwin Barbosa hit a wheel kick at TM. I want to say it was at TM years ago, maybe 15, 18 years. Nasty. That may be the only worst heel kick I've ever seen. It would spinning heel. It was nasty. Oh man, it was bad. Yeah, it was like that. But good nights of fight, man. Good fights. I loved it.
Hey, well, let's shift our gears now to boxing. Let's talk about the fight that happened this morning. Keith Thurman returns to the ring after 3 years absence, and he defeats Brock Jarvis by a TKO in the 3rd round. Your thoughts on this fight?
First off, I hate that they're saying TKO because he knocked that dude out, man. And the refs stopped it because, and a win is a win. TK, but I think there's a difference in a TK, a KO, and a TKO.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and if he did not, it just, so here's the thing. There's a couple things I learned to this, right? A couple things I learned from this. There are levels to this. And not that Thurman wasn't masterful. He wasn't. Because I thought Jarvis could have and should have used the jab more. To me, Jarvis definitely had the speed. But again, Thurman has lost to Tank, right? He lost to Tank, right? Thurman? Pacquiao. He has 2. Those are 2 to big names. That's the only one he's lost to. I don't know if Thurman is independently wealthy. I don't know if he invested well, but he takes long layoffs, and I don't know why. And I think that may be what I think that may be why he's not gotten the accolades in his career that he deserves. Because he's a hell of a fighter, and he's got power. He's got power, and he's got knowledge. But to me, he showed Jarvis there's levels to this. You're the young buck. You might have the speed, whatever. Your tank might be better, but I'm going to show you I've been in with some cats, and this is what I'm capable of. You know what I mean? So that's what I saw. It wasn't masterful. And he, as in Thurman, had his hands a little low. His guard wasn't as tight as it should have been. Mm-hmm. But levels to it. He didn't need it to be fighting Jarvis.
No, he didn't. But I am happy that he was able to put him away early. And I agree with you. That was a knockout. I mean, he went the first time he barely was able to get up, and then
I know
it didn't take much more to put him down again. And he hit him with a really, really nasty cross and a hook. Man, a hook cross combination, just boom, down he went. Ref stops the fight. I get it, but yeah, absolutely. That on the first knockdown, that left uppercut was wicked. That was nasty. I'm glad he won impressively in the sense that he got a TKO, KO or TKO. It's going to be a knockout. That's how it's going to be called. So he did what he needed to do. His name is back up there, and now they're already talking about what's next. And I'm curious what you think. Who do you think he's going to get next?
I'm sorry.
He'll get a name.
I don't think he's ready for a top 7 or 8 yet. I just don't. I saw holes today. I saw holes in that game. You know what I mean? I think somebody whose jab, I don't even want to say more crisp, somebody who believes in their jab a little better may give him issues right now. You know what I mean? That's what I see. But again, he's taking these on layoffs. Still, his only losses are to Pacquiao and Davis. You know what I mean? So Tank. So he's a hell of a fighter. Now, having said that,
he only lost to Pacquiao, Chops. He's only lost to Pacquiao.
I thought he had 2 losses.
Nope, just to Pacquiao.
So he didn't even fight Gervonta.
No, he's 30-1.
Huh. Okay. Yep. Okay. All right. So forgive me for that. Okay. So his only loss was to Pacquiao. And I think Pacquiao showed him there was levels to it because Thurman was doing well. And as the fight went on, Pacquiao's boxing acumen just took over. So having said that, yes, I'd like to see Thurman step up. What is Thurman, 34, 35?
He is 36.
Ooh.
So the clock's ticking.
Now, he didn't take much damage. He did not take much damage.
No.
So technically, he could fight again October, November, maybe December. He could get one more in this one. And then by March of next year, top 5 guy. If they're, pick out a top 5 guy. You know what I mean? Get a 1 or 2 more nice paydays if he doesn't get a title fight. You know what I'm saying? So, because here's the thing. We have counted out Thurman before. And I don't want to say counted him out as in he's washed up, but as he's taking a layoff. What will it do? He's been inactive. What will it do? And he comes out and shows us what he can do. You know what I mean? But every year we say he's taking time off. What is he going to be? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I would like to see him move up, but I don't want to say you treat him like he's a 12-0 fighter or somebody young, but because he's taking a layoff, and I think once he watches this film, I think they'll realize if he'd have popped the jab a little more, he as in Jarvis might have been successful. And because you realize, man, when you watched it, to me, I didn't see Thurman setting much up. He wasn't getting Jarvis with feints. He wasn't throwing feints to come across. He wasn't coming in behind the jab. He was throwing power shots and landing them. You know what I mean? He hit him with that hook a couple of times, digging the body nasty. I think it was the first round he had a nice, nasty body shot. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And Jarvis's defense wasn't the best either. You know what I mean? So, having said that, I do want to see him step up. I don't have any names in mind. Do you? Who would you like to see him go with? If you, or what do you? And I only ask because you asked me. What are you thinking for his as in
Keith Thurman?
Yeah.
I guess it depends on what weight class he's really eyeing up. I mean, I don't know. Does he want to stay up there at 154? I'm not sure. If he does, is Charlo an option? Because he's pretty inactive too. It wouldn't be a bad matchup. Yeah. A couple big names that are whoever the winner gets the next shot. The loser's probably in big trouble, at least in professional, at least.
Do you see him going back to 140 or 147?
If he's comfortable getting back there, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Now, Tim Tszyu announced this fight.
That's the one that's out there. Now, I wouldn't mind seeing that either. And it's kind of a similar situation.
I know.
We're not so much as Tszyu's been inactive, but he's coming off a pretty bad loss.
Yeah.
So and he's not getting any younger either. So maybe those two dance in about 5-6 months. I don't know.
But here's the thing, and I don't want to get off topic, but Tszyu hasn't fought since he lost to. He hasn't fought, has he?
Not since that loss, no.
But Murdalaev, is that who he lost to?
Yeah.
Murdalaev has fought since, or he has one coming up, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'd have to look it up, but I'm not 100%.
So I'm wondering what's up with Tszyu. You know what I mean? I wonder why he hasn't fought at all. But now, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
If he feels he can make weight, because he looked thick. He looked strong at 154.
Oh, yeah. He's really good.
If he could make the weight or where they'd like to do it, would you like to see him in Charlo? Would you like to see him in Boots?
Now, I think he'd need one in between to fight Boots.
Because here's the thing. Boots has the skill set, but he's not always looking as great as he can be. You know what I mean? So, but here's the thing. Mm-hmm. I think those guys would test each other because when they both are forced, they both have a deep toolbox. So if they were forced, it could be nice. It really could be.
Definitely, and I think, man, if Boots, I wouldn't say Boots starts slow. He's methodical. He's downloading everything in those first 2 rounds, and by round 3, he starts going to work, and he's so efficient. That's a little much for Thurman right now, based on the performance we saw today. Which again, put him away, but at the end of the day, it's a guy that really hadn't fought anybody, and to your point, didn't show much defense. But I'm glad, hey, when Michigan won a national title 2 years ago, the biggest thing was they didn't play anybody. Yeah, you're right, but they were up 30-0 at the half and was able to sit the starters by the 4th quarter. So they took care of business.
They did what they're supposed to do. Now, here'd be my thing, and I don't want to, and no miss or ill will towards, Jarvis. Like, when your boy was named Danny, not McBride, I don't know, the guy Tyson lost to, Danny, I can't think of it. And he said, if I can't beat this guy, no disrespect, at the press conference after the fight, when Tyson hit lost, Don, you know what I'm talking about. I can't, the Irish, I'm looking right at him. But Tyson said,
Peter McNeely was the first guy he fought when he came back out of jail.
And he beat him. But I think it might have been Tyson's last loss. Danny, I can't think of the guy's name.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't a big name.
He said to him in the press conference after he lost and he just didn't get up, he said, I'm retiring. He said, no disrespect to him, as he looked at the guy. But if I can't beat this guy, I don't deserve. And I was like, damn, you know what I mean? So again, I mean no ill will towards Jarvis, but you're not Boots. You're not Charlo. You're not Fundura. You know what I mean? You're not Tim Tszyu. So Thurman needs another step up to me before he fights a Charlo maybe, or I don't even know about, before he fights a Boots Ennis, because I know Boots has a toolbox. We know that. We know that.
Now here's a name. What about Zejas? Xander Zejas.
Oh,
that would be something, wouldn't it?
Not as a tune-up. I think Xander.
Oh, no. Not as a tune-up.
Yeah. Oh. Give another, because Xander's young. Xander doesn't know what it's like to be hit hard. He doesn't know what it's like to be dragged into deep waters. He doesn't know what it's like to be in there with somebody with that skill set, that boxing acumen, as I had said earlier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and Thurman's throwing heavy blows. But Xander Zayas, he's coming throwing punches and bunches. He's coming with speed. And even if he doesn't think your guard's down or whatever, he'll punch through it. So I don't think after today's performance, he's ready to fight Xander Zayas yet. But I'd like to, get another tune-up. Got to look good. It can't go past 5. And if you get the rounds, because you do need some rounds. You need rounds.
Sure.
So even if you get 7 or 8 good ones, but he wins every round, you know what I mean? Whatever have you, great. Or I wouldn't even mind seeing him get stuck once or twice and seeing him fight through that. You know what I mean? Because he hasn't really been hurt since Pacquiao. So, True. You know what I mean? So if he were to fight, somebody get the rounds in. Because Zayas is going to, and when you're in camp for Zayas, because of the styles, I'd like to see him fight Zayas.
Yeah.
Because of the toolbox, now he could be tested methodically and upstairs. I'd like to see him fight Boots.
Now, the other name that's been mentioned was Errol Spence Jr.
Oh.
That's an interesting one.
Spence hasn't fought yet. He was supposed to have something to take when I got yanked.
Yeah.
So Spence hasn't fought. Well, I think they could, what would be nice if I would like if they could get whoever they're going to fight, they could get it signed in November. Not tonight, but say they're pitching a Zayas and Thurman or a whomever it may be, a Boots and whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're pushing that, have both of those guys fight on a November card, right? On a November card, and then those winners, as long as they do. Not that, and I hate to say something, both decent fights, you know what I mean? But they have to handle business, and they win and set that up for early 2026. And when I say early 26, by end of April, maybe Easter, you know what I mean? Depending on how early Easter is this year or next year. But I would like to see that. But I could see both or any of those cats, Xander Zayas, Errol Spence. If you're going to give me, if it's between Xander Zayas, Boots, or Earl Spence, I would put, in that case, if we got three options, Charlo's out. Charlo's out to me, because I'd like to see one of those three. I'd like to see one of those three. Whoever it's going to be, have Thurman fight his guy and that his future opponent on the same card.
I like it.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that.
Really good.
Yeah, man.
Good. So we shall see. We got a big topic to talk about. We almost touched on it last week, but we knew we need a little more.
Woo!
So, we'd heard rumors, and we even talked about why doesn't boxing book like the UFC does, like MMA does? Well, lo and behold, His Excellency and Dana White have come together. They form a new boxing league under the TKO group partnership. Let's look at the pros and cons of this, right? Some people think this is going to fix boxing. Some think it's not. So let's talk about it in depth. So I'll start asking you, Chops. Do you now? And they've even shown the weight classes, and I think they're pretty similar to what UFC's using, right?
Yeah.
So, number one, do you think this is a step in the right direction?
Absolutely. I hate to say nothing, but big dog, there's not much you can tell me that would make me think otherwise. You know what I mean? There's not much you can say to me that would make me think it's not a step in the right direction. Now, I don't see it happening overnight where they take over. It could take some time, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I could go on what I'm feeling, or we could go back and forth talking different points, or however you want to do it, because you said there's pros and cons. Now, are you, as in Drew, saying there's pros and cons, or are you hearing there's pros and cons, and like some of the other pros and cons that other people are saying?
Both. I feel there's pros and cons to it potentially, and I've read that too. So I'm just I was curious, and we want to certainly talk about it. But yeah, I see some negatives possibly.
Let's go with some of the cons first, because it's easy to say a positive. Let me hear some of your cons or some of the cons you've read.
So my personal number one issue is, and I think I had it on the screen there briefly, is this just going to be another governing body like the WBC, WBO, IBF, WBA? Is this number 5 now? It could happen. It could very well happen. Now they've got a little edge on the WBO, because I remember when the WBO came in, they didn't take off right away. It took about 5 years for that belt to be considered on par with the other 3 governing bodies. So my fear is if the experiment fails, it just becomes another governing body, and that just muddies the water even more than it is already. So that's what I'm concerned about.
Okay. Now here would be my rebuttal to that. Okay. Sheik has more money than you can shake a stick at. Most rich guys don't like to be told no, and they do what they want to do.
True.
Dana runs, and he took UFC to where there was pride, there's other championships out there, PFL, and he reigned supreme over all of them. Okay. So think about this. There are other MMA, outlets and other avenues, right?
Yep.
Not many of them battle the UFC as in popularity. And some of the great guys that were even in PFL, as in Kayla Harrison, she's now in the UFC. Just there's no women to compete with her, right? You had Michael Venom Page, who was a big name in Bellator. Now he is with UFC. You had Michael Chandler and these other guys there have been other guys who were big names and went and left Bellator to come to UFC. UFC has one belt. You are the middleweight champ. You are the whatever have you, right? So, when UFC started, there were guys in other Matt Lindland. There was the Russian Bear, and I'm looking right at him, and he lost. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on him. But other guys that were like, no, he'd be the one. There was Vanderlei Silva. There was Marcio Shogun Rua. These guys were Fedor Emelianenko, right?
Oh, okay.
These were all big names in other venues, as was Gina Carano, as was Ronda Rousey. And at the time, Dana said he'd never have a woman. But what I'm saying with all those guys, they end up coming to UFC because they wanted to fight the biggest and the best, right? So having said that, and when Shogun, because of what he had done in Pride and other places, he's like, oh, he's going to come to UFC and wreck shop. He wasn't as dominant as people thought he was going to be. Hell, he lost because his tank ran out to Forrest Griffin. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So Fedor, it just wasn't. I don't think Fedor ever actually fought in UFC, but it wasn't and then you had the Axe Murderer, Vanderlei Silva, who came over. And what I'm saying is Dana was able to push all the other MMA venues out of the way. You want to be with UFC. So he's going to take that same mindset and put it to boxing. Okay. Now, do you realize HBO Boxing After Dark? I know you remember HBO Boxing After Dark.
Yeah.
Jim Lampley and those cats.
Loved it.
HBO got out of boxing.
Yeah.
Showtime used to be big into boxing.
Yep.
It got out of it. PBC was trying to be big on Fox. They were whatever have you.
Yeah. They had some
go by the wayside. Top Rank. ESPN is not signing Top Rank. After 7-8 years, they're not signing them. When these big names get out of boxing, because boxing has done this to themselves, they chose not to put on the best fights. So you have Turk. Think about it. Turk was able to talk Canelo out of a much bigger payday with Jake Paul to come fight for me, right? So he's going to have the money to get these guys, right? Dana is going to bring the mindset, the best fighters fight the best fighters. We're not going to hear, like we heard in boxing, Drew should fight Chops, but because they're with IBF or he's with this promotion, he's with that, but we're not going to see it. We're not going to have that. You are under our banner. Now, there was years ago, our pops, our fathers, or our uncles, whoever got you in boxing, and maybe years ago, man, to be the WBC, the IBF. Now people are giving up the IBF title because the IBF is like, well, we won and you have to have mandatory challenger. No, Dana and Turk aren't going to do that. The best fighters are going to fight. Now, you see it in sports all the time. I guarantee you, if you went to your local shopping mall this weekend or last weekend, talk to a couple guys that look 25, 30 or younger, just look 30 or younger. You or wearing Lions gear. Lions your team? Yeah, man. How long you been a fan? Ask them about Herman Moore, right? Ask them about some of those guys back then, Spielman. Ask them about some of those guys back then and if they knew them. No. Oh, and what I'm saying is tradition in sports is no longer like that. So you have some of these guys, these younger guys coming out that like a Shakur, right? Shakur and half these guys they never watch some of this boxing from back in the day, whatever have you, and they don't study the art like this, whatever have you. The way they conduct themselves on social media lets you know they're not like those other guys. They're not trying to keep their O. Where the other guys had that mindset to be the best, you got to beat the best. That's no longer a mindset.
Yeah.
So these cats will try to win their title, or should I say the Olympics. And after that, they're all free agents. Who's giving me the best money? So who's giving me the most money? So I like it. And even if it is just the TKO belt, we don't honor the WC belt. Now you can do this. You can do this. You can come over if you want, but seeing that you're the WBC champ, I'm only going to pay you this. If you were with me, I'll pay you that. Ooh, that's interesting. You know what I mean? Because my thing would be if I'm Dana, if I'm Turk, I'm telling these guys, look, all these other HBO, Showtime, they're not doing well. And if you're not a huge fighter, you're not making big money here. And the fight like the Riyadh season and we're seeing some of these cards that Turk's putting on that are phenomenal.
Yeah, they are.
Phenomenal. You know what I mean? Yep. Now, Dana now knows something he didn't know when he took over UFC. He knows the business. He knows how to advertise. So it may not take this boxing organization as long as it took. You know what I mean? So, and I'd like to see, can they go over? Because they have Japanese UFC guys. Can he go over? Can he get the monster? Can he get Inoue to sign with him? You know what I'm saying? And let's not forget, Dana now already has a contract with ESPN and ESPN Plus. He does some fights on there, right?
Yeah.
So now, you got ESPN, you got to take my TKO. It's probably damn near going to be grandfathered in anyway. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, and I'm wondering, is that why they didn't re-sign with Top Rank? You know what I mean? Because that's a conflict of interest.
Well, they could go on DAZN. I mean, they basically have DAZN already. Turk does, so they could fall right in there.
Yeah. Who are you talking about? Top Rank or?
TKO. Because Turk there.
True. They can go to DAZN. And those pay-per-views will be like the February 22 card we saw. I'll guarantee you they're still going to put some great fights on ESPN. You know what I mean? We'll see some of the Abdullah Masons. We'll see, you know what I mean? We're going to see a lot better fights because now, if you notice in the last year or so, ESPN Top Rank fights have gotten better, where before they weren't. You know what I mean? And I think, whether it's Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, De La Hoya, you know what I mean? These guys, I don't know if they're sitting around the coffee table now talking, fellas, we got to do something. We have to make sure the best fighters fight each other. You know what I mean? Because Dana and Tank are going to give us what we want to see the best fighters fight.
You bring up a lot of good points, and I was going to touch on the fact that the scenario how Dana White won out in MMA in essence with UFC. It is different, but he does have that knowledge now and lessons learned from his experiences there. But he also is coming in against the other four organizations, and like you said, all the promoters you just mentioned, and then Bob Arum too, with Top Rank. So they're all wily veterans, but he's got Turk's pocketbook.
Yeah,
and then coupled with the lessons learned, I hope you're right. I hope within 12 months' time, we see movement already. It could happen quickly.
Yeah. Well, you figure, what's Canelo? Well, Canelo just signed a 4-fight with Turk.
With the first ones in May.
Yeah.
May 3rd.
So somebody has one fight left with their – you're like Teofimo. He wants to get out of – he'll talk bad on his promotion, talk about every chance he gets. So, and he's been beefing with De La Hoya, Garcia's going back and forth. Those guys, I think Turk and Dana will be able to sign right off the rip, but they're going to let them know you're going to have to fight. Now, again, someone like me and you, 50-50 plus, or our dads or our uncles, it'd be hard, man. The WBO, the ring, that we like you know what I mean? That's nostalgia for us. But we see these young cats in all sports, free agents go where the money is. Hell, look at what your boy Garrett Miles just did. On Friday, he says, I went out. There's no amount of money you can pay me. Not 36 hours later, you're the richest man. Okay, I'm here. The Browns didn't get any better when you made that statement than when after. They didn't get any better by re-signing you, but yet for some reason now you want to stay. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to go to a winner. Some of these guys, after they get their ring, before it was they would get their ring, then they would chase the money. Now, guys, what's the saying? Give me the bag. I'm going for the bag. Yep. Give me the loot. Put the money in the bag. So I don't think the nostalgia with these young cats, the nostalgia of the WBA, the IBA, I don't think it will hold the same as it does with me and you. I just don't think it will.
Yeah, I'll be honest. We're old enough that when we were young, you really only had the WBC. You had, Ring Magazine had their belt, of course, and then the WBA, because the IBF didn't come until 1980.
Correct. But see, and that to me, that's what really started to hurt boxing, is it went on because guys were realizing my guys here, your guys with this promotion, I don't want them to fight yet, or you know what I mean. And Remember, how many times have you and I, forget about what you've seen elsewhere, you and I said, this is a fight that should have happened 3 years ago. I don't think we're going to have that issue with with Turk and Dana. Because Dana, you've heard me say before, Dana does not give he doesn't give softballs to anybody. He does not give softballs. If you come in with a name and you're this, that, and the third, he does not give softballs. And John Jones has fought everybody. He's older now, but he's fought everybody.
Yeah.
Undefeated. Then you look at some of the other guys that are in the UFC Hall of Fame, whether it's the Randy Couture, whether it's the Iceman Chuck Liddell. Those guys have been beat with vicious knockouts. John Jones, right now, if he retired right now, would retire undefeated. Nurmagomedov retired undefeated. Nurmagomedov retired early. He had more fights in him, but he just chose not to, right? The point I'm making is really nobody retires from UFC undefeated because Dana put you in there with monsters. You mean like right now, John Jones is about to fight Aspinall. Aspinall is younger, stronger, and faster. He's hot now. Mm-hmm. John Jones is saying, I built the legacy to fight who I want to fight and to fight mega fights. Dana White's like, not as long as you're in the UFC. He's going to take that same mindset to boxing. You sign with me, you know you're fighting the best. Everything you get, you're going to earn. Now, one of the negatives I'm hearing is, will he treat his fighters and boxers the way he does his MMA guys and doesn't pay big money?
It'll end real quick then.
What's that?
It won't last long then. He can't.
I know. But here's the thing. You're right. Absolutely right. But I'm hoping with Turk being there, Turk will say, no, we can't do that. We've got to pay. Now, you see it in boxing too. Not everybody's making 8, 10 million, 90, 10 million. Like, not everybody's making Canelo money, whatever have you. Tank Davis. Not everybody's making that. So there will be fighters that are still making. I don't think that Dana was making, he'll say, 30 to fight, 30 to win. So you could make up to 60 grand, but you had to win. I think Turk will be smart enough. No, we're just paying the 60 grand. You know what I mean? And find some of those younger fighters. And when Turk, I'm hearing, when Turk brings over some of them fighters to talk to him, he flies them over, treats them to the love. They see the lavish life. And now they're like, now if he says, okay, this is what I showed you. These are the guys that fought for. Now I want you to sign with me. You guys are going to be like, hell, why wouldn't I? You treated me like royalty when I wasn't under your banner. Now I am. You know what I mean? So, and not trying to be funny, Turk has buddies. He starts throwing in that Saudi money. His friends got Saudi money. You know what I mean? All his friends are billionaires. All your friends are Lions fans. All his friends are billionaires. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Money go a long way, baby. Money go a long way. So I'm interested to see it. So, man, I'm sorry I didn't monopolize this time. Let me hear what you think about it. Whatever you just go. I rambled. You go.
No, you made some great points. It's really what it comes down to. I think they've got a hell of a shot of changing the game, and by doing that, it's going to make it a lot more fun to watch. I mean, and it's going to bring in the casual fans because when you're seeing, I mean, just like when we were kids, man. I mean, like we saw, that Mancini Duck-Koo Kim fight. He sadly, perished in that fight, Duck-Koo Kim. But what a battle! We saw Arguello fight. I saw him fight. Ooh. I see Bobby Ches fight on TV all the time, and Costa Zoo. I mean, those guys, you saw them on TV all the time.
Yes.
CBS and ABC back in the day with Howard Cosell back when he was doing, fighting. It was, I mean, I saw the Leonard Duran too on ABC. Why that was at the Superdome in New Orleans.
I remember watching Ali on ABC Wild World of Sports.
What? Oh, but when he fought Leon Spinks.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was at the Superdome, the second one. That was at the Superdome too. So
yes. Yeah,
I mean, I hope we get to go back to that. Like you said, they were trying. Fox was trying. ESPN was trying. And it just
okay. So let me ask you. Yes, they were trying, but boxing guys were still being boxing guys. I want my guys to have his I want to be pick a tomato can. So let me ask you this. From what you know, Dana, he makes guys fight the best guys.
Yep.
Turk shells out money to see the best fights. He already told your boy, Bivol, I don't want to see you fight Berlanga. No, he said he didn't want to see him fight Berlanga. He wants to see him fight. Oh no, he wants to see him fight Benavidez. and not the run back? Is that what he said, or he wants to see him fight a trilogy and not Benavidez?
I think he wants to see him fight the trilogy, but the WBC is saying you're going to fight Benavidez, which, at least in that scenario, I kind of understand it. It wasn't like Usyk where it's like, no, you're going to fight our number 9 ranked guys.
Yeah, but see, it's hard. It's hard for me to say that, and I do want to see the trilogy, even though I wasn't impressed with the fights as much as you were. But it's 1-1. Why do you let? How can we say, okay, better be if you win this one, you got to run it back. Bivol, you ran this one, don't give him a shot to, you know what I mean, to secure the rubber match. So I'm not feeling that he has to fight Berlanga. I'd like to see the trilogy just so we have a clear-cut winner. But so Turk puts out money to see the fights he wants to see. Canelo out of going for think about that, man. Okay. The fight card from the 22nd. That was he hasn't been doing this long, Turk. And that was up there with one of the best cards we've literally ever seen. Okay. So when you know what Dana says and does, best fighters fight, right? Then you see Turk willing to put out the money so he can be entertained. Basically, just everybody else pays for it, but he's there because he wants to see it.
Yeah.
This, to me, the Abrams, the Eddie Hearns, Frank Warrens, De La Hoya, whomever else you want to put in there, they have to be sitting around the table. Oh, shit. I understand they're not worried about this tomorrow, but this only happened because you guys got too big. And I mean too big as in, I'm not giving in. No, I'm not giving in. I'm not giving in. I'm not giving in. So we'll make the fans, us, wait. We waited. We waited for Earl Spence. We waited for Pacquiao Mayweather. You know what I mean? Yep. We're not going to have that in Dana's league. Dana's stripped fighters of their belt, and Garner was one of them. And some other guys, you're taking too long. Or he'll have top other guys fight for it, and then you come back and you know what I mean? So, and I think he'll carry that mindset into his TKO.
Yeah.
And your boy Turk can pay for it, and he's gonna have investors, big dog. I joke. Nothing, no plan ever goes the way it's written on paper. Nothing starts out and just goes, and never has down. There's gonna be ebbs and flows and everything. I get that. But once there's an ebb and a flow and his boxing takes a dip, then I'll be like, yeah, that was foreseeable. But right now, man, I know as much as you see cons, as much as some of the guys who are deeper in the boxing and know much more than I do see cons, I can't see them. I can't see them. The only one I see legitimately is Dana not paying the fighters enough like he did in but a lot more of these guys are global, and Dana was able, because he was really the only one coming up and UFC was on TV more, he was able to have those guys sign away their rights. He was able to pay them peanuts, but they do still have the WBA, the WBO, IBA, whatever have you, if they want to fight elsewhere. So I don't think you can put that chokehold on everybody so fast. You know what I mean? And you have sanctioning fees these fighters have to pay. With him, only one body, I don't think we're going to have that issue, big dog. And I'm excited. I really am.
I mean, like you said, it's the promoters that are scared. The fighters are going to go where the money's at.
Exactly.
So, I mean, the promoters are shitting right now.
Yeah.
They really are. They're going to be – you may see the evolution of where they go away and they basically are replaced by agents.
Yeah, maybe. Now, I don't think Dana will ever let them union. They'll never unionize, so to speak, you know, like a football union, a baseball players union. I don't think they'll ever do that, but I would like to see it. I just want to see exciting back in boxing. I don't want to see guys where they should be fighting their 25 and 26, but we don't see it until they're 29, 30, 31, 32. I don't want to see that, man. And like I said, just keep in mind real quick before we get out of here. Yep. Nobody retires from UFC undefeated. And I don't want to say anybody, but Nurmagomedov retired early. He retired early because there were still more fights for him to have. He just retired early. You know what I mean? But you're not going to do. Dana's not going to lie. There are going to be wars in this battle, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited.
Can't wait. He's Chopped. Drew. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for liking the video. Thanks for subscribing. Don't forget we're on every Friday night, 10 p.m. on the ESPN Network Roku channel. Check us out. We appreciate your support. Take care, and we will talk to you next week. Thank you for watching the Haymakers and Submissions podcast. You can find us on the ESEN network on the Roku app every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time beginning on October 4th, 2024. Check us out on Twitter X. Our handle is @HaySubPod, capital H, capital S, capital P. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single episode. Just go to your web browser and type in www.youtube.com/@Haymakers and Submissions podcast, as we will drop content weekly. Whether it's boxing, MMA, or wrestling that gets you fired up, you'll get all you need right here at the Haymakers and Submissions podcast.